My mic did not turn on. Nada finita, Arena. Welcome to the stream. Alright, let me hear from my audio and then we'll be good to begin with some Lovecraft. Alright. Looks good. Just check that everything is good here. Alright. So we're going to be starting with The Alchemist today, since that's the one that he released after The Beast in the Cave. Wait. Right? Yeah, okay. So The Alchemist, I also, much like The Beast of the Cave, find its ending a little bit predictable. That said, I'm still gonna read it anyway, because I find the older back you go with literature and stuff, the more predictable almost it becomes, but at the same time, you're kind of like seeing how it develops. I don't know. I do like looking at old stuff and comparing it to new stuff a lot. So that's probably like a big part of why I sometimes like reading older stuff, even though it tends to have some not so great things about it, such as like how racist H.P. Lovecraft is, for example. But yeah, so I guess we can start now. It's The Alchemist. High up, crowning the grassy summit of a swelling mound whose sides are wooded near the base with the gnarled trees of the primeval forest, stands the old chateau of my ancestors. For centuries its lofty battlements have frowned down upon the wild and rugged countryside about, serving as a home and stronghold for the proud house whose honored line is older even than the moss-grown castle walls. These ancient turrets, stained by the storms of generations and crumbled under the slow yet mighty pressure of time, formed in the ages of feudalism one of the most dreadful and formidable fortresses in all of France. From its maculated, I suppose, parapets and mounted battlements, barons, counts, and even kings have been defied. Yet never had its suspicious halls resounded to the footsteps of the invader. Yet never had its spacious halls resounded to the footsteps of the invader. But since those glorious years, all is changed. A poverty but little above the level of dire want, together with a pride of name that forbids its elevation by the pursuance of commercial life, have prevented the scorns of our line from maintaining their estates in pristine splendor, and the falling stones of the walls, the overgrown vegetation of the parks, the dry and dusty moat, and the ill-paved courtyards, and the toppling towers without, as well as the sagging floors, the worm-eaten wainscots, and the faded tapestries within, all tell a gloomy tale of fallen grandeur. As the ages passed, first one, then another, of the four great turrets were left to ruin, until at last but a single tower housed the sadly reduced descendants of the once mighty lords of the estate. It was one of the vast, gloomy chambers of this remaining tower that I, Anton, last of the unhappy and accursed comets first saw the light of day 90 long years ago. Within these walls and amongst the dark and shadowy forests, the wild ravines and wild ravines and grottos of the hillside below were spent the first years of my troubled life. My parents I never knew. My father had been killed at the age of 32, a month before I was born, by the fall of a stone somehow dislodged from one of the deserted parapets of the castle, and my mother, having died at my birth, my care and education devolved solely upon my one remaining servitor, an old and trusted man of considerable intelligence, whose name I remember as Pierre. I was an only child, and the lack of companionship which this fact entailed upon me was augmented by the strange care exercised by my aged guardian in excluding me from the society of the peasant children whose abodes were scattered here and there upon the plains that surrounded the base of the hill. At the time, Pierre said that this restriction was imposed upon me because my noble birth placed me above association with such plebeian company. Now I know that its real object was to keep from my ears the idle tales of the dread curse upon our line, that were nightly told and magnified by the simple tenantry as they conversed in hushed accents in the glow of their cottage hearths. The fact that he's even accepted the peasantry, okay, a little bit out of all this, because I don't want to go to that borderline insanity I was pretty much at last time I tried doing this. So I'm going to take time to stop and talk about stuff. That annoys me to no end. The whole, peasantry thing fucking pisses me off so much. So something about Lovecraft in his early years is that he was very, big on aristocracy and stuff. Much later in his life, that would go away. In fact, he'd, have a complete reversal. I believe he was a socialist near the end of his life. I'm not 100% on that. But he definitely, didn't anymore believe in the aristocratic way. But, he grew up in a rich family. That's why it's, this whole thing. In fact, was his mother gone at this point? I'm not sure. But his father, did go insane when he was quite young. Or was it insane? I can't remember. But, he didn't have his father around to raise him. So it was, he was raised by, I believe, his grandfather. So this kind of, fits in with that, more or less. Which, yeah. I mean, it's just what it is. But yeah, it's definitely, because I bet even, him near the end of his life would think, holy shit, that's bad. I don't like that. But whatever. I mean, he as a whole never really got to a point where it would be socially acceptable nowadays. But it's even he had some development in his opinions, because nobody fucking believes this shit nowadays. Well, some people do. But whatever. Let's see. Thus isolated and thrown upon my own resources, I spent the hours of my childhood in poring over the ancient tomes that filled the shadow-haunted library of the chateau, and in roaming without aim or purpose through the perpetual dark of the spectral wood that clothes the side of the hill near its foot. It was perhaps an effect of such surroundings that my mind early acquired a shade of melancholy. These studies and pursuits which partake of the dark and occult in nature most strongly claimed my attention. Of my own race I was permitted to learn singularly little, yet what small knowledge of it I was able to gain seemed to depress me much. Perhaps it was the first only of the manifest reluctance of my old predecessor to discuss with me my paternal ancestry that gave rise to the terror which I ever felt in the mention of my great house. Yet, as I grew out of childhood, I was able to piece together disconnected fragments of discourse, let slip from the unwilling tongue which had begun to falter in approaching senility, that had a sort of relation to a certain circumstance which I had always deemed strange, but which now became dimly terrible. The circumstance to which I allude is the early age at which all the comets of my line had met their end. Whilst I had hitherto considered this but a natural attitude of the family of short-lived men, I afterwards pondered long upon these premature deaths, and began to connect them with the wanderings of the old man, who often spoke of a curse which for centuries had prevented the lives of the holders of my title from much extending the span of 32 years. Upon my 31st birthday, the aged Pierre gave me a family document, which he said had for many generations been handed down from father to son, and continued by each possessor. Its contents were of the most startling nature, and its perusal confirmed the gravest of my apprehensions. At this time, my belief in the supernatural was firm and deep-seated. Else I should have dismayed with scorn the incredible narrative unfolded before my eyes. I'm not going to comment on it. We'll just continue. The paper carried me back to the days of the 13th century, when the old castle in which I sat had been a feared and impregnable fortress. It took a certain ancient man who had once dwelt in our estates, a person of no small accomplishments, though little above the rank of peasant. My name, Michael, usually designated by the surname of Mauvis the Evil on account of his sinister reputation. He had studied beyond the custom of his kind, seeking such things as the philosopher's stone or the elixir of eternal life. It was reputed wise in the terrible secrets he was reputed wise in the terrible secrets of black magic and alchemy. Michael Mauvis had one son, named Charles, a youth as proficient as himself in the hidden arts, and who had therefore been called Le Sorcier, or the Wizard. This pair, shunned by all the honest folk, were suspected of the most heinous practices. Old Michael was said to have burnt his wife alive as a sacrifice to the devil, and the accountable disappearances of too many small peasant children were laid at the dreaded door of these two. Yet, though the dark natures of the father and the son ran one redeeming ray of humanity, the evil old man loved his offspring with fierce intensity, whilst the youth had for his parent a more than filial affection? I don't know. One night, the castle on the hill was thrown into the wildest confusion by the vanishment of young Godfrey, son of Henry the Comet. A searching party, headed by the frantic father, invaded the cottage of the sorcerers, and there came upon old Michael Malevis, busy over a huge and violently boiling cauldron, within one certain cause, and the ungoverned madness of fear and despair. The comet laid his hands on the aged wizard, and ere he released his murderous hold, his victim was no more. Meanwhile, joyful servants were proclaiming the finding of young Godfrey in a distant and unused chamber of the great edifice, telling too late that poor Michael had been killed in vain. As the comet and his associates turned away from the lowly abode of the alchemists, the formless Charles Le Sorcerer appeared through the trees. The excited chatter of the menials standing about told him what had occurred. Yet he seemed at first unmoved by his father's fate. Then, slowly advancing to meet the comet, he pronounced in dull yet terrible accents the curse that would ever afterward haunt the house of Comet. They don't use Comet though, or like he doesn't, because it's, I'm guessing, supposed to be a stylistic thing here. It's just a C with a couple dashes afterwards. But that's almost impossible to say, so I'm going to try and say Comet if I can remember it. Also, for some reason, my nose is starting to clog up now, which I do not like. May ne'er a noble of thy murderous line survive to reach a greater age than thine, spake he, when suddenly leaping backwards into the black wood, he drew from his tunic a phial of colorless liquid, which he threw into the face of his father's slayer, as he disappeared behind the inky curtain of the night. The comet died without utterance and was buried the next day, but little more than 32 years from the hour of his birth, no trace of the assassin could be found. Though relentless bands of peasants scoured the neighboring woods and the meadowland around the hill. Thus time and the want of a reminder dulled the memory of the curse in the minds of the late comet's family, so that when Godfrey, innocent cause of the whole tragedy, and now bearing the title, was killed by an arrow whilst hunting, at the age of 32, there were no thoughts save those of grief at his demise. But when, years afterwards, the next young comet, Robert by name, was found dead in a nearby field from no apparent cause, the peasants told whispers that their Segura had but lately passed his 32nd birthday when surprised by an early death. Louis, son to Robert, was found drowned in the moat at the same fateful age, and thus down through the centuries ran the ominous chronicle. Henrys, Roberts, Antonys, and Ramberts snatched from happy and virtuous lives when little below the age of their unfortunate ancestor at his murder. That I had left at most but 11 years of further existence was made certain to me by the words which I read. My life previously held at small value, now become dearer to me each day, as I delved deeper and deeper into the mysteries of the hidden world of black magic. Associated I was with modern science, isolated as I was, modern science had produced no impression upon me, and I labored as in the Middle Ages, as rapt as had been old Michael and young Charles themselves in the acquisition of demonological and alchemical learning. Yet, read as I might, in no manner could I account for the strange curse upon my line. In unusually rational moments, I would even go so far as to seek a natural explanation, attributing the early deaths of my ancestors to the sinister Charles Le Sorcerer and his heirs. Yet, having found upon careful inquiry that there were no known descendants of the alchemist, I would fall back to my to occult studies. Considering the fact he wasn't found, you would expect there to still be heirs that just people didn't know about, or at least maybe under a different name. Plot hole, I suppose? Yeah. Oh well. How long do we have left with this one? Oh, and the tomb is next. Oh, we have a good enough ways through. Alright, I'm gonna try and, get at least to an hour today. We might not go too much longer than that, but that's just because we're just ending hiatus today, so I do want to, get back into the swing of things a little bit slowly. Right. The alchemist would fall back to occult studies and once more endeavor to find a spell that would release my house from this terrible burden. Upon one thing I was absolutely resolved. I should never wed, for since no other branches of my family were in existence, I might thus end the curse with myself. As I drew near the age of 30, old Pierre was called to the land beyond. Alone I buried him beneath the stones of the courtyard about which he had loved to wander in life. Thus was I left to ponder on myself as the only human creature within the great fortress, and in my utter solitude my mind began to cease its vain protest against the impending doom, to become most reconciled to the fate which so many of my ancestors had met. Much of the time was now occupied in the exploration of the ruined and abandoned halls and towers of the old chateau, which in youth fear had caused me to shun, and some of which, old Pierre had once told me, had not been trodden by human foot for over 4 centuries. Strange and awesome were many of the objects I encountered. Furniture covered in the dust of ages, crumbling with the rot of long dampness, met my eyes. Cobwebs of a profusion never before seen by me were spun everywhere, and huge bats flapped their bony and uncanny wings on all sides of the otherwise untended gloom. Give me a second. My itches. Alright. Of my exact age, even down to days and hours, I kept a most careful record. For each moment of the pendulum of the massive clock in the library told off so much more of my doomed existence. At length I approached that time which I had so long viewed with apprehension, since most of my ancestors had been seized some little while before they reached the exact age of the comet Henry at his end. I was every moment on the watch of the coming of the unknown death. In what strange form the curse should overtake me, I knew not. But I was resolved, at least, that I should not find that it should not find me should not find me a cowardly or passive victim. With new vigor I applied myself to examination of the old chateau and its contents. It was upon one of the longest of all my excursions of discovery in the deserted portion of the castle, less than a week before that fatal hour which I felt must be the utmost limit of my stay on earth, beyond which I could not have even the slightest hope of continuing to draw breath. I came upon the culminating event of my whole life. I had spent the better part of the morning in climbing up and down ruined staircases in one of the most dilapidated of the ancient turrets. As the afternoon progressed, I sought the lower levels, descending into what appeared to be either a medieval palace of confinement or a more recently excavated storehouse for gunpowder. As I slowly traversed the niter-encrusted passageway at the foot of the last staircase, the paving became very damp, and soon I saw but by the light of my By the light of my flickering torch, that a blank, water-stained wall impeded my journey. Turning to retrace my steps, my eye fell upon a small trap door with a ring, which lay directly beneath my feet. Pausing, I succeeded with difficulty in raising it, whereupon there was revealed a black aperture, exhaling noxious fumes which caused my torch to sputter, and disclosing in the unsteady glare the top of a flight of stone steps. As soon as the torch, which I lowered into the repellent depths, burned freely and steadily, I commenced my descent. The steps were many, and led to a narrow stone-flagged passage which I knew must be far underground. The passage proved of great length and terminated in a massive oaken door. Give me a second to get some water. Ah, my nose. Why is it only now that this is a problem? Ah. Bloody hell. Ah. Alright. Let me just check one thing, because I noticed it out of the side of my vision. Ah. Right. Well, it's a little bit more clear now. Right. A massive oaken door, dripping with the moisture of the place, and stoutly resisting all my attempts to open it. Ceasing after a time my efforts in this direction, I had proceeded back some distance towards the steps, when there suddenly fell to my experience one of the most profound and maddening shocks capable of reception by the human mind. Without warning, I heard the heavy door behind me creak slowly open upon its rusted hinges. Ah! My immediate sensations are incapable of analysis. To be confronted in a place as thoroughly deserted as I had deemed the old castle, with evidence of the presence of man or spirit, produced in my brain a horror of the most acute description. When at last I turned and faced the seat of the sound, my eyes must have started from their orbits at the sight that they beheld. There, in the ancient Gothic doorway, stood a human figure. It was that of a man clad in a skull cap and long medieval tunic of dark color. His long hair and flowing beard were of a terrible and insane black hue, and of incredible profusion. His forehead, high beyond the usual dimensions, his cheeks, deep sunken and heavily linen with wrinkles, and his hands, long, claw-like and gnarled, were of such a deathly, marble-like whiteness as I had never elsewhere seen in a man. His figure, lean to the proportions of a skeleton, was strangely bent and almost lost within the voluminous folds of his peculiar garment. But strangest of all were his eyes, twin caves of abysmal blackness, profound in expression of understanding, yet inhuman in degree of wickedness. These were now fixed upon me, piercing my soul with their hatred, and rooting me to the spot whereupon I stood. At last, the figure spoke in a rumbling voice that chilled me through with its dull hollowness and latent malevolence. The language in which the discourse was clothed was that debased form of Latin in use among those more learned men of the Middle Ages, and made familiar to me by my prolonged researches into the works of the old alchemists and demonologists. The apparition spoke of the curse which had hovered over my house, told me of my coming end, dwelt on the wrong perpetrated by my ancestor against the old Michael Maluvius, and gloated over the revenge of Charles le Sorcerer. He told how the young Charles had escaped into the night, returning in after years to kill Godfrey, the heir of it, with an arrow, just as he approached the age which had been his father's at his assassination. How he had secretly returned to the estate and established himself unknown, and the even then deserted subterranean chamber whose doorway now framed the hideous narrator. How he had seized Robert, son of Godfrey, in a field, forced poison down his throat and left him to die at the age of 32, thus maintaining the foul provisions of his vengeful curse. At this point, I was left to imagine the solution of the great mystery of all, how the curse had been fulfilled since that time when Charles le Sorcerer must, in the course of nature, have died. For the man digressed into an account of the deep alchemical studies of the two wizards, father and son, speaking most particularly of the researches of Charles le Sorcerer concerning the elixir which should grant to him who partook of it eternal life and youth. You can see where this is going. His enthusiasm had seemed for the moment to remove from his terrible eyes the hatred that had at first so haunted them, but suddenly the fiendish glare returned, and with a shocking sound like the hissing of a serpent, the stranger raised a glass phial with the evident intent of ending my life, as had Charles le Sorcerer 600 years before ended that of my ancestor. Prompted by some perceiving instinct of self-defense, I broke through the spell that had hitherto held me immovable, and flung my now dying torch at the creature who menaced my existence. At the creature who menaced my existence. I heard the phial break. Is that supposed to be vial? Is that how that's spelled? I don't know. Break harmlessly against the stones of the passage as the tunic of the strange man caught fire and lit the horrid scene with a ghastly radiance. The streak of fright and important malice emitted by the would-be assassin proved too much for my already shaken nerves, and I fell prone upon the slimy floor. Wow, slimy. Okay, upon the slimy floor of a total faint. When at last my senses returned, all was frightfully dark, and my mind, remembering what had occurred, shrank from the idea of beholding more, yet curiously overmastered all who sorry. Let me try that again. And my mind, remembering what had occurred, shrank from the idea of beholding more, yet Curiosity overmastered it. Or overmastered all, it says. It sounds better. Whatever. Who, I asked myself, was this this man of evil? And how does he not know at this point? And how came he within the castle walls? Why should he seek to avenge the death of poor Mikhail Mauvius? And how had the curse been carried on through all the long centuries since the time of Charles the Sorcerer? The dread of years was lifted from my shoulders, for I knew that he whom I had felled was the source of all my danger from the curse. And now that I was free, I burdened with the desire to learn more of the sinister thing which had haunted my line for centuries, and made of my youth one long continued nightmare. Give me a second. Jeez. It's kind of late, too. Jeez. Alright. Alright, where we were yet. Long continued nightmare. Determined upon further exploration, I felt in my pockets for flint and steel and lit the unused torch which I had with me. First of all, the new light revealed the distorted and blackened form of the mysterious stranger. The hideous eyes were not closed. Disliking the sight, I turned away and entered the chamber beyond the Gothic door. Here I found what seemed much like an alchemist's laboratory. In one corner was an immense pile of shining yellow metal that sparkled gorgeously in the light of the torch. Gold. Whoa, wait, never mind. It may have been gold, but I did not pause to examine it, for I was strangely affected by that which I had undergone. What else is a shiny yellow metal other than gold? I guess there is some stuff that's close to gold, but, like, I can't really think of anything. Not unless it's, like, purposely supposed, like, trying to look like gold. I don't know. Oh, there's that kind of, like, that fool's gold stuff, but that doesn't actually shine in light as well. Like, whatever. It's probably gold, but did not pause to examine it, for I was strangely, affected by that which I had undergone. At the farther end of the apartment was an opening leading out into one of the many wild ravines of the dark hillside forest. Excuse me. Filled with wonder, yet now realizing how the man had obtained access to the chateau, I proceeded to return. I had intended to pass by the remains of the stranger with averted face, but as I approached the body, I seemed to hear What? Okay, I have to look this word up.
Emanating.
Emanating? That's how you spell emanating? Really? That's how you spell emanating. Okay. I guess I've never seen it written down before. Alright. But as I approached the body, I seemed to hear emanating from it a faint sound, as though life were not yet wholly extinct. Aghast, I turned to examine the charred and shriveled figure on the floor. Then, all at once, the horrible eyes, blacker even than the seared face in which they were set, opened wide with an expression which I was unable to interpret. The cracked lips tried to frame words which I could not well understand. Once I caught the name of Charles the Sorcerer, and again I fancied the words years and curse issued from the twisted mouth. Still, I was at a loss to gather the purport of his disconnected speech. At my evident ignorance of his meaning, the pitchy eyes once more flashed malevolently at me, until, helpless, I saw my opponent to be... until helpless as I saw... I trembled as I watched him. Suddenly, the wretch, animated with the last burst of strength, raised his hideous head from the damp and sunken pavement. Then, as I remained paralyzed with fear, he found his voice, and in his dying breath screamed forth these words which have ever afterward haunted my days and nights.
"Fool!"
he shrieked.
"Can you not guess my secret? Have you no brain whereby you may recognize the will which has through 6 long centuries fulfilled the dreaded curse upon your house? Have I not told you of the great elixir of eternal life? Know you not how the secret of alchemy was solved? I tell you, it is I that have lived for 600 years to maintain my revenge, for I am Charles le Sorcerer."
That voice was awful, but fuck, it'll work. Oh man, the most obvious twist. So, what a twist. What a spooky little twist there at the end. Didn't expect that. I'm being an asshole, but like, it's super easy to predict after he mentions the elixir of life again. And the fact that this guy knows all about Charles le Sorcerer. Because at first you might think that maybe this is a descendant of Charles le Sorcerer, and that he's just gotten away with it over and over again. But then they mention the elixir of life again, which they mentioned early on. And if they had just kept it there early on, and then at the very end said this stuff about the elixir of life again, then, and only then, would it have worked. But because they mention it again earlier, like before the very end, it breaks any impact it could have had, which sucks, but hey. There's something shorter I can read. God, the tomb is so long. Is Dagon shorter than that was? Polaris is really short, but I don't want to read it since it's super racist. Memory is good. Old Bugs is a fucking funny one. Oh, the transition of Juan Romero is also really racist. I'm not a fan of the white ship. The street is racist and really weird. The Terrible Old Man. Have I read The Terrible Old Man? That one's kind of short. Actually, I don't even know if I'm going to read another one or just like talk for a little bit. 87. Like just a little bit. I might read Memory, because that one's real short. Have I read it? Oh, I have. We might read this one. Maybe. 20 minutes though. That's kind of the problem with it. How long is The Alchemist? Let me actually do the math on this. It's 8 pages. 8 pages, 40 minutes. That's about 4 pages a minute. Dagon is 5, so we might read Dagon then. We're not reading the tomb. I'm not reading it now. It's the next one on here, but for one, I find it very boring. And 2, oh god, it's long and it's boring, and I'm not really wanting to get into it. What I will slightly mention here, I actually have read up to a good bit through it since I read The Terrible Old Man. Oh, I have read The Cats of Ulthar, haven't I? The Tree I've read. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, I haven't read the facts concerning the late Arthur Jermyn and his family. The Temple. Have I read The Temple? That is 101. Let's see. Nope, I haven't. The picture in the house is 103. Let's see. What's strange, far places, the catacombs. Oh, where does this? Is this the one about Carcosa? No, it talks about Miskatonic Valley, never mind. Wait. Oh, the doom that came to Sarnath is 75. I like this one. Let's see. It lost Carcosa. I'm gonna look Carcosa up after this if it's not here. Yeah, what is Lost Carcosa? Lost Carcosa. Oh, it's a King in Yellow thing. I'm right. It's from the Yellow Sign stuff. Yeah. That's... Yep. Oh, we should read the Yellow Sign stuff. Actually, I should just buy the Yellow Sign and read it at some point. I did... or wait, is it the Yellow Sign? No, the King in Yellow, the King in Yellow. Right? What is it? The King in Yellow. Yeah, The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. Yeah, because it's like the first four kind of count for, like, I think the first four are kind of considered, like, slightly canon to Lovecraft stuff. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So, if I do get through Lovecraft stuff, I might read this. Honestly, I might just read this in general. It's not super important. It does make me wonder how long it would take to read them. Oh, but they are all divided in chapters, aren't they? So that would make it much easier. Right? Yeah, because the Repair of Reputations has like a couple chapters. Okay, maybe. That said, I do find them particularly boring, so maybe not. Let's not actually. Upon further thought. So, let me find out where I was at again. Because there's Cats of Ulthur. I am almost certain I've read The Tree. Let's go over to 93 and see. Yes, I have. And then the one after that at 97. I'm not even sure how you're supposed to say this. Let's see. No. That's like some Lovecraft. That's like Nath-Horath. Like that stuff. That's got to be like some of the first mentions of this stuff. Because I don't remember any of this. Uth-Nagar in his dreams. Yeah, no, this is definitely... sorry, Uth-Nargai? I suppose that's it. King Cainarthos. Okay, so I've read up to The Tree. Which is a good, good 96. Well, regardless, I read like a good way through, and that was about a year ago now. In fact, I'd say about a year exactly from now, I was still reading these books. But about a year, but so 2 days less than a year though. So like 2 days from now and then a year back, I stopped because another kind of Lovecraftian horror was found. All Alive debuted, hey. And that took over my life, which, yeah, I hadn't gotten back to reading Lovecraft after that because I had Ina instead. But no, All Alive debuted, All Alive English at least, which I got like, that was my first step into VTubers really. I'd like seen some of the Western stuff like Iron Mouse, and I had heard of Melody, and maybe saw some stuff. Because at that point, she hadn't really started doing stuff on Twitch and YouTube, so, you know. Well, I'd mostly seen it from Remy Down Under's, like, whole, what was it? It was, like, one of his Arma stream, or not streams, his Arma videos, where he got her to say the science team thing. That happened. So I, like, kind of knew about VTubers then. One of the Discords I was a part of posted one. I didn't really understand what was going on there. I just like saw the translation site, was going through their videos a little bit, but like super confused and didn't really understand what was happening, since I thought it was like a Kisune AI thing again. I thought it was still just videos that they had already like pre-recorded and everything, not knowing that it was live, which, well, kind of. Yeah, I don't know. How did I not realize it was live? That's weird. Especially since the first one was Hachima, like, doing the whole thing with, like, her viewers would donate and then have her read a certain line out from a list. Yeah, I don't know. But I guess I just didn't get it at the time. Especially when, like, Whole Live English was debuting. I thought it was going to be, like, a whole storyline thing. And that you'd have to, like, see it all to get the story. But no, it's not. It's just a bunch of streamers. And honestly, I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I had weird expectations for it. And I almost didn't get into it because, like, weirdly enough, I did not sleep the night before their debut because I was just too tired. Or not too tired. I just wasn't tired at all. So, that morning, I had Callie's stream just playing, like, on my phone while I was eating and getting ready to like go and do like some work for the day. And I almost like just stopped there, and like there's an alternate timeline where I never got into VTubers because Callie made me cringe too much with her debut stream. It's so fucking cringy to me. I just can't. That said, I forget who was after. I think it was Kiara that was after. I also did not like Kiara's very much. But, though I did know about Pecora, because I had seen a translation about Kanata and Pecora playing together at one point. So I knew about Pecora, so which meant, like, I knew who she was talking about, but not really. I didn't really know who she was talking about. I just knew what Pecora was supposed to look like. I've just got to move myself over a little bit. So that was the thing. And then Ina. And Ina is what solidified it for me. Because Callie, well, actually, Callie's music kind of would have got me over anyway. Like, I probably would have just continued watching for her music or something. But Callie's stuff starting is so bad compared to, like, because it feels a little forced. And I think that was a big thing, was it felt like it was really a lot of acting, whether or not it was. I just noticed something. Give me a second here. I noticed that little shimmer around my model. That's not supposed to be like that. Let me fix that. There we go. That's better. Yay, now I'm not shimmering anymore. Alright, so, was I on? Something about... Oh, yeah, so Callie's, like, debut stuff was Oh, it could have gone so much better. I mean, it didn't go bad. And that's the thing. It's kind of like the Ian Curse thing that they keep having and tell council. I mean, even Niji Sanji had it. Like, Finana wasn't able to debut because her recording wasn't working. So it's not just Hololive. Definitely not just Hololive, considering their second, second generation. I almost said wave. Their second generation debuted fine, and Niji Sanji's second wave debuted fine, definitely as well. So just apparently first gen / wave English just doesn't do very well, which is kind of funny. So yeah, back to Ina though. That solidified it for me because very chill, very comfy. That's like the kind of streamer I try and watch because, you know, I like some chill and comfort. Well, that's kind of what I thought at the time. I can go with both really at this point. Then again, I guess like I still prefer Finana because chill and comfy. Then again, you know what, I haven't really watched much of Obsidia, so eesh. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of VTubers as much anymore. I don't know. It just feels like a lot to just watch a stream nowadays. But sometimes it's nice. I don't know. And it's also just like I've been really busy lately as well. So that's kind of like skewing my perception as well, I guess. I've just been so busy. I haven't had the time to do anything really. Like streaming and working has been most of my life at this point. My workload got increased, which is why I was on hiatus for so long, because I was trying to find time to even figure out how I could stream with my workload increased. But things are starting to get into a point where I think I have it figured out. I think I can, like, manage my time a little bit better. I think we can start streaming again. So that's why we're doing this. And it's gonna be this because I didn't want to do something, like, really heavy on effort for a first, like, stream off of hiatus. I wanted a stream that I could basically, like, if I mess up, not that bad. Because you know what? Not a lot of people are going to watch this one. This VOD isn't going to be very popular. I get that. I understand that. I'm doing this because I want to do it. Which is why I should be doing it in the first place. Like, I'm not streaming to be popular. I'm streaming to do this because I like doing it and it's fun. The popularity, though, is a nice side. I'll be honest. It's nice to see that I have some people who want to subscribe to me and watch me and all that. It's nice. It's not the important thing, though. That said, I do have some collabs that I'm trying to get around doing, which will be a nice way to kind of like justify me like taking a break from work to do this stuff. Because yeah, like I have a lot of work to do. God, it's a fucking mess. The Empire is just fucking broken. Okay, I should talk about myself a little bit now. I've been doing this almost like, what, a good couple months now, and I haven't really talked about myself at all. I guess the basics would be I'm an emperor, a space emperor, you could say, of a galaxy-spanning empire. So I've made minor mentions to it at time and time. But yeah, it's a lot of workload gets increased, and because we're still quite poor, having been recently founded, and not a very corrupt empire, believe it or not, well, we don't have a lot of money. These broadcasts are a kind of like a fireside chat kind of thing, you could say. I am emperor, of course, of the two imperial houses, Phenai, mine, and Avarice, the empresses, which, despite the emperor-empress thing, there is no relation between us. In fact, I fucking hate her, and it's mutual, so it's fine. But yes, yeah, there's a mutual hatred between us. Well, a mutual hatred with a slight hint of respect. So there's the two houses, Phenai and Avarice. It's fine. What was I getting into? Oh, yeah. So, I run the like, kind of financial side of the empire itself. The Ouroborean Empire, I should mention. The Ouroborean part is notable to keep it from sounding generic, and also other things that it means. It's a lot to get into. We'll get into it at some other point. But, yes. Worth noting, the cloak that I'm wearing covers a set of armor as well. In fact, well, if it wasn't for how badly this model is, because my wings are the wrong color, my hair is not quite right, because the, like, you see those three things at the top there? Those aren't supposed to be there. Or shaped like that. The glasses are far too rounded. They're supposed to be much more square, because my actual glasses. My pupils are cross-shaped, well, kind of. They can go between that or just normal, like, circular shaped pupils. My hands are wearing wearing gloves instead of gauntlets, which is really annoying. And they wouldn't be black gauntlets. They're that violet-y kind of color that they are. The swords are kind of close, but really not. Because the long sword is not like that. In fact, it's not even a long sword. Well, it is and it isn't. But the rapier is close enough. I mean, it's not, because it doesn't have everything that it's supposed to. There's no covers over it to keep it locked. It's just... yeah, and my wings are the most atrocious part. They're a jade green, not this... whatever this is. Also, this is just, like... also, the lines on this cloak... yeah, that's, they look like broken glass, not this, like, uniform checkered pattern, which I fucking despise. Overall, this is not a very good way to represent me, but for some reason, this was what the transition to the 2D world did. Well, kind of. For some reason, between that and this, like, transmission back to 3D, it, like, almost creates this weird effect where it does this. I'm trying to figure out how I can just get it to directly show what I look like in the 2D world, but it's not doing that. Oh, I should mention, I can freely move between 2 and 3D. Well, 2 and 3D universes, at least. Yeah, that's fine. It's Mr. Lovecraft over here. Little Cthulhu. Bigger Cthulhu. Right. I am stalling for time, I'll be honest here. What else? Well, other than that... whoa, what is happening? What was that about? I gotta move myself over again. That was really weird. Right, so... there was something else I had to say. Well, I guess not had to say. I suppose it doesn't really matter, but... I do feel like I'm forgetting something.
Before we attack you...
Oh, no. I do want... what? Okay, that can go new tab. That can as well. Sorry, it's just, I just want to check that this isn't like, that this is like a live stream that you can freely view. Because, I don't know, it just feels like it's really weird. Okay, no, it's free to view. Okay. I don't know, it just felt like it wasn't. I don't know, this one kind of like turned into 20 minutes of me just like talking about random bullshit. But it felt nice. It actually felt really nice to just talk about random bullshit. Which, yeah, I don't get to do that very often. Well, I don't feel comfortable about doing it just online. I think that's the first time I've felt comfortable with completely, like, just going fully like, oh, hey, here's me talking about this thing. Because usually, like, I tried doing it when I first started streaming and I couldn't do it. I just didn't feel confident enough. I always felt like I was messing up. Like, if you go back to my Daka Squadron streams, you'll see that. I felt much more confident about this. I felt like I could talk about it pretty well. I feel like that's progress. Still, 2 weeks hiatus is over. Holy fuck. I did not realize it had been 2 weeks, honestly. It's been way too long since I've streamed. But this is a nice little way back in, so yeah. Thanks for joining. If you made it this far, thank you. for going through my random, like, my basically senile-ish random ramblings or whatever. Maybe for my anniversary as a streamer, I should probably just do an actual debut. Maybe my anniversary as a VTuber? I don't know. Or I could do the Q&A thing, the VTuber, I don't know. I don't know enough Japanese to actually recite that whole thing. I might do it. I don't know how it works, though. I should look that up at some point. I should maybe also institute donations at some point as well. In either case. I think we are close to being done. Well, not even close. I think we should just be done for today, though. The next time I do this, I should probably just read the tome, and or not the tome, the tomb, and then leave like the rest of the time I spend to just talk. Because this has been therapeutically nice. Like, it felt weird. Because, like, at first it was nice to not have to stream and, like, work all the time. But then it started feeling weird. Because it felt like I wasn't... Like, it just felt like I was missing something. And then as time got, like, further and further across, it's like, man, I really need to stream. Man, I really need to stream. Man, I really need to stream! Just, like, constantly my subconscious is like, hey, you should stream or something. Because, you know, it's pretty fun. And also, like, it'd give you a way to, like, not be constantly working 24/7. Or just, like, if you're done working, just lazing about. Lazing about or continuing to do, like, self-work. Which is like, oh, hey, well, I'm done with that. Time to start reading something kind of complicated. Like, not, like, complicated fiction stuff. Well, I guess maybe not complicated, but, you know. Like Battletech stuff, like the Battletech rulebooks, where it's basically a history book, or like a design document in the case of the technical readouts, you know, stuff like that. Not actual books. I mean, kind of with privateers, but whatever. Which is a book I picked up, like, over the hiatus. Well, it's in a book, it's actually a book I inherited a little bit. Like, a couple years ago, actually. I just hadn't gotten around to reading it. I inherited it and Dragon Riders of Pern, which I talked about like a good couple months ago, actually, at this point. Fuck, how long has it been since I talked about that book? I hadn't even started reading it since I talked about it, and I was like saying a couple months ago, hey, I should start reading that. I never got to it. I still haven't gotten to it. It's still... Where is it? Oh, it's right there. It's not even... I was looking at the wrong bookshelf. Because I have like two of them. One of them isn't filled out almost at all. The other one is like is built into my bed frame. So I have like this bookshelf on my bed frame, and then I have my books over in my actual bookshelf, which are like a mix of like workbooks, notebooks, like all the stuff that you do for financial work. Or not financial, like well, I say financial. I guess that's not inaccurate, but it's not also... It implies more than it actually is. But, like, work for finance, or for, like, money stuff. Work for math, all that. Writing stuff down, taking notes. And then, like, a bunch of, I have a good couple light novels on there. A little bit of manga. Some other, like, fiction books that I've had for a couple years. Actually, I have a lot of the Song of Ice and Fire books. I've only read the first one, though. Maybe I should try reading those again. I don't know. Fuck. I can never, like, stay still with what I'm doing. It's just like, alright, time to move on to the next thing, even though I haven't really done much of the first thing in the first place. I just need to sit down, finish what I've already started doing. It's just kind of something I never do, and I need to start doing that. Speaking of which, we haven't ended the stream yet. Whatever. It is a bit, like, annoying that well, not annoying, but I feel it's almost sad that nobody's watching at this point. I'm having fun with this regardless, but still. And I feel like almost nobody's gonna see this. Which is a bit, like, get that feeling of melancholy, I suppose. Yeah, I should really just end the stream at this point. Alright, I think that's gonna be it. Thank you for joining the stream. It's been fun. Sayonara, Terina.